Skepticism we were just talking about is being channeled into the growing Tea Party movement, proven by our next two guests, who are prime representatives of that. Donn is running for Congress in Tennessee. He was a Republican. He's now going to run as an independent as a Tea Party candidate. He joins us from Memphis. And Judson Phillips is an attorney and Tea Party Nation organizer. He joins us from Nashville, Tennessee. Now, I know, gentlemen, you got your own issues between each other, but I want to stick on the issue of whether or not the American public is going to get a fair shake from these hearings in Washington. Mr. Phillips, what do you think?
Are you kidding? Seriously, think about what this gentleman just said. He talked about collegiality. They're going to pat themselves on the back and say, oh, we're doing such a wonderful job. We will ask all legitimate questions. What's a legitimate question? One, the question in which we approve of the answer? I mean, give me a break here. These folks up in Washington caused this problem. Most of them, particularly in this current administration, need to go. They need to go yesterday. We can't get rid of a lot of them until either 2011 or 2013. But what's the famous line? We have met the enemy and he is us. Well, that's Washington.
Mr. James, you agree?
Oh, I do. I think that part of the problem is that there's a conflict of interest, a severe conflict of interest, when both parties, both Wall Street and Washington, contributed to this problem that we face today. So I think that having a third party that you suggested would make sense.
Well, I don't know if a third party would or not, but the fact is, Mr. Phillips, who do you focus on more? We see the media, Mr. Blumenthal in Connecticut, Mr. Cuomo in New York, focusing on the bankers as the cause of the problem and the continuing cause of the problem through these bonuses. I put it on the bailouts themselves. Who do you think the American people blame?
From the people that I've talked to, they're furious with government. Everybody understands the idea, if you're going to get offered something, you're willing to take it. If you're going to offer me a handful of money, yeah, I'm going to take it. So I don't necessarily blame the bankers for taking the money, but I certainly blame the politicians for acting stupidly, spending stupidly, and most importantly, not listening to the people who are pretty ticked off about what's going on.
Mr. James, do you have any hope at all that we might end up with a slightly better system as a result of the hearings going on and efforts now to try to change things?
Well, I doubt it. And let me clarify my last comment. I didn't mean a third political party, but a third party involved in the investigation process. Somebody that's outside of the system needs to be involved. And that's what I meant. But I'm cautiously optimistic that hopefully something will come up of this when we shed some light on what actually happened. But I think to get to that point, we do need somebody that is clearly outside of the system looking into this problem and the cause and what we can do to prevent it in the future.
Well, Mr. Phillips, guess what? There's nobody like that in the commission. I mean, we just heard Mr. Giorgio kind of bragging about how much of an insider he was. Then he tried to pull out of the insider thing a bit. But the fact is that the folks who care about kicking out the insiders and getting rid of all these sweetheart deals, they're not the ones who are yet in power. How does that change?
Well, it changes with involvement. And by the way, one of the things, talking about the gentleman who was on beforehand, when he was talking about his website, I was really thinking they ought to change the name of that to cya.gov. It's going to change in November. It's got to change in November, and there's one way it happens, and that's at the ballot box. We have got to get people out, and this is what the Tea Party is all about. It's getting people out, getting good people. I can't tell you the number of emails I've gotten from people who have told me, all the emails start the same way. I've never been involved in politics before now, but.
I've heard that a lot. We've had a lot of those people on here, Mr. Phillips. It's extraordinary how many people who've never gotten involved in politics of any kind are now getting involved. But how do you harness that? How does that lead to a change inside the Beltway?
Well, we have to get people out, we have to get them involved, we have to get them behind good candidates, and then we have to get those good candidates elected. As I've told a number of the Tea Parties that I've spoken to, it's not enough to complain about bad leadership. You've got to replace bad leadership with good leadership.
It's as simple as that. Judson Phillips, Donn, good to have you both on, gentlemen. Please come back and see us again.
David, thank you.
Thank you.